Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. My nickname is iFacePalm, and in this episode we're going to take a closer look at the Soviet Tier 6 Tech Tree tank destroyer, the SU-100, which features a surprisingly devastating and hard-hitting gun. And during this tank review we'll be looking into whether if it's worth the grind, how its tank statistics looks, I will compare its stats against other similar Tier 6 tank destroyers, which will be followed up with an extensive Armour Profile rundown with focus on its weak spots and strengths, and afterwards I'll take you guys alongside a recent battle, which hopefully will give you guys a good idea of this tank in action, and furthermore showcase its devastating potential on the battlefield. And finally I will finish up with a quick sum up and my rating of this tank. Okay guys, so let's get started. Okay, so what is the SU-100 all about? Is it just an ordinary tank destroyer, or does this particular Soviet vehicle have something hidden up its sleeve? The thing is that what makes the Russian tank destroyer line a bit unusual compared to many of the other tech tree lines in the game is that one of the two Soviet lines are built around a very aggressive playstyle, which provides high alpha damage, good mobility, no armor, bad view range, and no gun handling. And therefore the SU-100 is in my opinion a tank that truly contradicts itself, and finding a true role and purpose for this tank on the battlefield can indeed become tricky at times. Because as a YOLO tank you really would want some armor, and as a sniper some precision would not be bad at all, and even the view range would generally rank high among the priorities for a tank destroyer. And this tank doesn't really seem to have neither of those, so is it any good? Well, let's take a look by doing a quick stats rundown with my current crew and tank setup. So with the current crew I have focused on Brothers in Arms, 6th Sense and view range for the commander, and for the rest of the crew members I have chosen camouflage, mobility for the driver, repair for the loader, and do notice that the gunner does not receive any bonuses for the snapshot skill, therefore should instead have the repair skill. The reason for this is that he is often used in other tanks. For the equipment I have selected proved aiming, gun rammer, and binoculars. I'll go into more details why I've selected the following equipment in a few minutes. And for the ammunition I've selected 22 AP shells that each delivers 390 alpha damage, which is rather insane for a tier 6 vehicle, and furthermore provides a reasonable average penetration of 175. The shell velocity is definitely nothing to be proud of at 780. Do notice that the average shell cost is 1025, which is quite a lot, but then again you get 390 alpha damage as a trade-off. For the premium shells this tank comes fitted with APCR. Here I've selected 12, and the advantage you get here in comparison to the AP shells is a penetration increase of 42mm, and furthermore you get another increase of 195 meter per second shell velocity that totals 975 and cost 4800 silver. The thing is that the primary reason why I don't have any more APCR shells on this tank is that those 22 usually are enough, but also this gun is not very precise, and paying 4800 for every time you miss a shell, yeah, that can quickly get very expensive. So if I had to pinpoint the main reason for why I don't have more APCR shells in this particular tank, it would be that the precision is that bad. And last I have fitted 2 high explosive shells, which are capable of dealing an average damage of 530. For the consumables, nothing out of the ordinary. Small repair kit, small first aid kit, and extra combat rations. So we had 390 alpha damage, 175 penetration. This tank comes with a rate of fire of 5.8, which makes us capable of firing every 10.34 seconds. This is a lot, because do notice that this tank comes with 650 HP. That means that in 2 shots this tank will in average be able to deal a total of 780 damage, which is enough to kill a similar SU-100 in just 10.3 seconds. This is very fast. And the fun part here is that if you're looking for other tanks that are able to deal 390 alpha damage at this tier, but that features a turret, then you have the KV-85, which we have right here. But do notice that the gun loading on this particular tank is 16.51 seconds. So there's a gigantic trade-off for the benefit of the turret versus the SU-100 that features that fast firing gun. For the gun traverse speed, 49 degrees, but of course this tank destroyer doesn't have a turret and only features a gun traverse limits that at best goes 12 degrees in each direction. The aiming time is 2.6 seconds, and in addition a dispersion rate of 0.36. It might not seem that bad, but do notice guys that the gun traverse limits really forces this tank to re-aim time after time, unless of course the enemy is very nice and standing still. The DPM that we are able to achieve is 2263, and one of the reasons why I have selected the gun rammer is simply because I want to fully focus this tank on taking out their enemies as fast as possible. There's several reasons for this, because this tank doesn't really have any armor, and we can quickly see it here on the hull armor 75, 45, 45. So your best defense in the SU-100 is actually offense, and therefore that rate of fire matters so much in this particular tank. And this is also one of the reasons why I have chosen to focus on Brothers in Arms as one of the first skills, and furthermore gun rammer, and last I topped it up with the consumables. The SU-100 comes with an engine power of 520, which translates to a horsepower per ton of 15.75. This is not sluggish at all, as it reaches a top speed of 50 and a reverse speed of 14. The reverse is not the the greatest. And therefore, one of the possibilities that you can do is to switch the improved aiming to either, for example, the turbocharger or alternatively the improved ventilation. The SU-100 also features a traverse speed of 41.53. This is decent indeed, but then again, if that top speed, especially that reverse speed and traverse speed is not enough, then the turbocharger will definitely make an impact. For the camera values, here it's actually not bad at all, because check this guys, 41.85. And do notice that my commander doesn't even have the camera skill yet. And furthermore, when moving, you have 26.69%. These are very nice figures. And last, we are able to achieve a view range of 476. Yes, and it is even when we have a binoculars fitted. And you might be wondering, why do I have binoculars, especially if I want to play this tank aggressive? Well, the thing is that personally, my playstyle changes a lot based on if I'm a top tier or if I'm a bottom tier. If I'm top tier, I feel comfortable that this gun will be able to take out the enemies way before they have a chance to do any harm. But when I play against tier 8, then I don't really feel I can take that aggressive role. And for that reason, I really need to rely heavily on the view range. And do notice that I rarely use an improved aiming device on my tanks. But the reason that I found it necessary, at least for my playstyle, is that this tank is extremely unprecise. Okay guys, let's take a look at the stats comparison. Okay guys, so here we have the stats comparison where we are comparing the SU-100 versus the WZ-131GFT, the Jg.Pz 4, ARL V39 and the LKV65-2. So we definitely have a lot of multinationalities in this comparison. Okay guys, so let's take a look at the base values and take a look at the DPM. 828, definitely nothing special. And do notice the fantastic DPM of the Jg.Pz 4, 2444, the LKV65-2, which also is at another level, but in the opposite direction. For the penetration, 175, which is actually not bad at all. The thing is that when you're encountering tier 6 vehicles, and very often tier 7, then in my opinion it is very rare that you have to use those gold shields. 175 is usually more than enough of penetrating reliably the enemy tanks, and in this comparison it is definitely at the higher end. But check this guys, damage, yes, 390 alpha damage. That's nothing here that even comes close. That usually ranges around those 220 to 250, and do notice that the ARL V39 has its highest tier gun at only 240. But for this comparison, I have selected the more hard-hitting 300 alpha damage gun. So what about the shell velocity? Let's take a look. 780 meter, yeah, that is definitely below average. But then again, none of these figures are really standing out here. Of course, the LKV65 have a beautiful 960 meter per second, and the WZ-131G is not bad either. But the difference here are not groundbreaking. But how is it going to look if we change it to premium ammunition? Well, let's try it out. There we go. And do notice that all of these tanks uses APCR as gold shields, besides the LKV65-2 that uses heat shields. And suddenly here, if you look at the penetration, the 217 doesn't even seem that groundbreaking, because nearly all of these tanks features a way better penetration value, besides the high DPM Jg.Pz 4. For the shell velocity, you can definitely see whether the WZ-131G together with the ARL V39 is standing out, but where the SU Jg.Pz 4 and the LKV feature similar figures. Okay, so what about the gun handling? Let's take a look. Aim time 2.9. Yeah, this is definitely worst in this comparison, and that is by a mile. And when we look at the dispersion, it is the exact same thing. And again, when moving and tank traversing, it is not supremely the worst, but it is definitely not a figure to be proud of. And these figures here really showcase as well regarding how precise this tank is, and why I felt forced to use an improved aiming module. Because yes, this tank has that extreme alpha damage in comparison to the other tanks, but the precision is and can be a gigantic challenge, where some of the other tanks here can easily snipe from long ranges, but where the SU-100 is barely capable of doing so, at least in comparison. So what about the gun depression? The 6 degrees gun depression is definitely a bare minimum for a tank. Do notice that the LKV65-2 definitely stands out in this comparison with an amazing 10 degrees. Another important figure here for the gun handling is of course the gun traverse. So we had 12 degrees to the left and right. This is also shared together with the WZ-131G and with the Jg.Pz 4. The French ARL V39, yes, minus 7 degrees guys. Minus 7 degrees. This is utterly horrible guys. And the winner here is the LKV65-2 that features gun traverse of 15 degrees. Okay guys, so let's take a look at the mobility. So 50 an hour top speed for the SU-100, and check this guys, LKV65-2, best in class of the 60. How about the reverse speed? 14 an hour, definitely a figure that doesn't really stand out. And in general, I would add a turbocharger here to get that extra. Do notice both the WZ and LKV are simply at another level here. The power to weight, 15.91, it might not seem that bad, but as soon as we compare it against some of the other tanks, then it's actually surprisingly nothing special. But what about the terrain resistance as countermeasures? Well, here they neither stand out in comparison to some of the other tanks. The only tank that really stands out here is the French ARL V39. Simply have some horrible terrain resistances, which both on hard and soft terrain will feel more sluggish in comparison to the SU-100. And for the last figures, for the tool traverse 44 degrees, SU-100 best in class, and furthermore the tank traverse of 36 is not that bad. One thing to notice here, guys, is the WZ131G, because as an overall it just feels that much more nimble. Yes, you are sacrificing a gigantic portion of your damage, because the difference between 250 damage to 390 is gigantic. But the benefits that the WZ131G gets is that higher penetration value, is that more speed, aim time and dispersion and gun handling, alongside that reverse speed and fantastic power to weight ratio. And even the tank traverse is way better. And the question quickly becomes, is really that 390 alpha damage worth the vast sacrifices that you get in comparison to a 250 alpha damage gun? For the armor, yeah, do notice that none of these 5 tank destroyers actually have any form of armor. Because 75 is just not a lot. But yeah, we saw that it was angled. But we're going to take a look at this in the armor profile in just a few seconds. And you guys will see what I'm talking about. For the last figures, yes, camo values. The base camo was 22.06, very decent indeed. But then again, that is also the same case for the WZ131, the Jagdpanzer 4 and the LKV. Do notice that the French tank again stands out here with only 16.25, and these figures are the same when we're looking at the camo while moving, where again the 13.22 is very similar to everyone else besides the ARL V39. For the view range, check this guys, 350 base, yeah, that is definitely bad. And when I was looking at it first time I was thinking, okay, yeah, that is definitely a trade-off because of the big gun. But then, hey, wait a second, none of these tanks actually have any supreme view range, especially the LKV65 that only features that 330. Okay guys, let's take a quick look at the armor profile rundown. Okay guys, so here we have the SU-100 armor profile, and for this analyze we're going to use the 175mm AP shells. Let's take a look at how it looks in the live view. Yeah, 175mm guys. Yeah, it has a cupola, but kind of pointless shooting after it, because check this guys, wherever we're going to take a look here, it is just 100% chance to penetrate it from all directions. Gun mantle itself is quite large on this particular tank, so that means when we move closer here, we are actually able to actually bounce a shell, especially on the upper part of the gun mantle, where you have values of around 700, and at the inner part of the gun mantle we have around 250, 350, 250, 270, 280, 250 and 300. So in general, if you encounter this tank, just shoot it anywhere, just not on the gun mantle. So what about if we utilize that hull down? Let's take a look. So we have it at 6 degrees, and yes, look, armor profile is completely untouched. What about if we side scrape? Let's take a look. Yeah, and do notice here that you can actually angle it quite a lot before it actually starts to disappear. So it's definitely possible to side scrape, but then again, it's a non-turreted tank destroyer and it makes it that much more harder, but it is not impossible to bounce a shell. And let's take a look at the side profile. 45mm, 48mm at the rear part, and through the tracks that provides that extra 20mm of spaced armor, it still goes through like butter. And for the rear, we again have those 45mm, and for the last parts, effective armor of 50mm and 52. So you can already see where this is going, guys. We have a tank that features an amazing 390 alpha damage gun, but it features some of the worst gun handling. It doesn't have a turret, it has really bad gun handling on the move, and even when fully aimed, all its competitors are just that much more better. So is it any good? Well, let's take a look at the battle. Okay guys, so here we are in Lakeville. I'm playing with Adagio and Cobra. They're playing in the KV1S and M4A3E8, and I'm playing in the SU-100. Let me just, yeah, bopping from the beginning here. So we are bottom tier in this particular game here. I think we should be able to penetrate all of the tanks we can encounter here. The KV3 could be a problem, but hopefully we will not encounter that guy directly. The question of course is, can we get some early shots in? There are 2 light tanks, so there's a good chance that we might be able to spot one of them, or maybe both, and put in some early shots, because 390 alpha damage even for tier 7, that's going to hurt. But that of course requires us to hit. Well, let's see. T150. See. Oh my. Yeah. Okay, someone hit him. Okay, can we put in on this one? Beautiful. Check how big a chunk of its life it took, guys. It's crazy. So here's a total health of 940, and suddenly when you remove those 383, that is definitely felt. Okay, now, okay, can we put in a shell on this guy? Beautiful. And on fire. Wow. That was a lucky shot there. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, another guy. I guess my aiming skills are very well synchronized with the tank's original skills. Okay, let's see if we can be a bit more lucky on the tiger one here. Ah, okay, that was beautiful. 450, guys. That was definitely a high roll. Okay, so we have 1343 damage already. Okay, and we got the Rudy. Can we put in here? Beautiful. 410. Decent indeed. And yes, 10.41 second is not that bad on the reload speed. And there we go. Yeah, beautiful. Definitely our comrade here in the town, he's yeah, he's going to feel the heat there. Let's see if we can help him out a bit. Whoa, okay, looked nice. Unfortunately, it was only 73 HP he had left. Air max, yeah, hitting light tanks with this tank can definitely be challenging at times. Let's see what's happening there. Unfortunately, we lost the eyes. It looks okay for now, right? We have 2500 HP advantage at this stage. Ooh, ah yes. Can we put in? Ah. You really want to be fully aimed when shooting with this tank. We had a few... We had a few lucky shots in the beginning where I wasn't fully aimed. But here we can clearly see what actually happens most of the time when you're not fully aimed. So let's be a bit fully aimed up. Well, fully aimed, yeah, definitely. Okay, reload again. Reload, reload, reload. Yeah, 449. That is a beautiful roll. Okay, which one to shoot and which one to shoot? Okay, okay. 403. You guys can see that this, you know, with this gun and that reload speed, and especially the alpha damage, you can just eat yourself with the enemy team, man. Ooh, I can see we got a Hellcat close to us. Can we finish this guy off? It'll definitely have to be a high roll if we're going to take out this guy. Oh, it's not fully in. Oh, beautiful. 349. Okay. That was good we hit him. Unfortunately, that's a low roll. Okay, the Tiger one. Can we... I think there's a building over there. Yeah. Oh, behind that tree. Okay. Well, we got the spotting for that. Beautiful. Still worried about that Hellcat because he has that turret which we don't have. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, 431. Can we finish him off? Can we finish him off? Come on. Yeah, beautiful. 4,224 damage, guys, at this stage. This is crazy. Guys, can you imagine if we got spotted there? Let's say they would put actual light tank where it should be, at around the F7 line, and we get spotted instantly. Everyone could just kill us off directly instant. I must say that a lot of my shells are actually blessed by Stalin, because it is very often that where you have games where you're firing at this range. Come on, come on, come on! Yeah. I didn't want that guy to go behind me. Because the thing is that, yes, we had, even we had a lot of misses. Yes, a few of them were my fault 100%. But it is still very often that even when you're fully aimed, the shell will still have its own life and then hit something completely different. So we definitely had the RNG here on this particular battle with us. And also in regards of how many high rolls we were able to make. Can we get the top gun? Probably no chance where we are. But this is not bad at all, guys. 4,686 damage and 1,170 spotting. Wow. So the SU-100, what do I think of it, and most importantly, is it worth the grind? Well, as you guys have seen, from time to time I review a lower tier tech tree tank, which in the hands of the right commander type could indeed have the potential of becoming that hidden gem that he or she was looking for. And the interesting part here is that personally I'm not a tank destroyer player, because proactive playstyle, at least for me, is that much more interesting rather than reactive gameplay where you just sit in a bush and wait for someone to drive right into your gun reticle. And many times the problem, especially at this tier, is that when you get spotted, you rarely seem to have any armor or enough HP to escape your position after firing. And when suddenly the best defense becomes destroying the enemy tanks before it shoots back at you, then this tank's alpha damage makes it that much easier. At tier 6 there are not many tanks that are able to deal an alpha damage of 390, and this is even rare for tank destroyer. The thing is, and as we saw in the beginning, you can trade off this tank destroyer's mobility and rate of fire with a similar devastating 390 alpha damage turret by picking up the Soviet KV-85 heavy tank, but that lacks that mobility and features that much slower reload speed of around 17 seconds. So therefore the question quickly becomes, are those 7 seconds worth sacrificing for a turret? Well, that is of course for you as a tank commander to decide, but personally I strangely enough enjoy both of the tanks, because when you learn to tame and unlock the devastating potential of either tank types, then there truly are vehicles that can make their impact on the battlefield. So how many facepalms would I give this tier 6 Soviet SU-100 Tech Tree tank destroyer? It receives 3 facepalms. The SU-100 is surprisingly enjoyable, and whenever I play with this tank, then I feel that I'm my worst enemy, because I often need to remind myself to not YOLO in as much as I want to. As a mobile finisher or a tank destroyer, then you definitely do not mind trading shots with your opponent. This tank is all about its 390 alpha damage gun alongside its decent mobility. If this tank featured a gun that only dealt 240 alpha damage, then I would honestly not find any use for this vehicle. But because you can remove half of the enemy HP in just one shot, or easily wipe clean the battlefield of any damaged vehicles that are left during the later stages of the game, then this tank can indeed have some amazing moments, and therefore in my humble opinion it is one of those hidden gems for any tank destroyer commander who values that high alpha and mobility at the cost of everything else. Okay guys, let's finish up. I hope that this tank review was helpful towards your decision of whether you should grind for it, and thanks a lot for watching guys. This was my tank review number 30. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think of the SU-100 in the comments below. And as always, if you like to see more crazy content from my side, feel free to leave a like or even subscribe. It's a big thumbs up for me and I appreciate it a lot. Cheers guys, take care and see you next time.